I'm Catherine Reid, host of the St. Paul Forum, and coming up next, I'm speaking about Store to Door, an organization serving the elderly with food service. That's next on the St. Paul Forum. Welcome to the St. Paul Forum. I'm Catherine Reid, and joining me today are two members of a team of Store to Door, Mary Jo Schifsky and Jan Ingle. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. So tell us a little bit, Mary Jo. I know your role is as a staff member with the organization, so can you tell us a little bit about how it is you came to work with Store to Door?
Well, Store to Door actually has been serving our community for 30 years, which is a phenomenal amount of time considering how few people know about us. So thank you so much for talking with us today.
Sure, we're glad to.
I came to Store to Door because it is an aging service, and what we do is shop for and deliver groceries and provide regular personal social contact to homebound elderly in the 7-county area. I'm a member of a big family. My mom and dad became ill at a point in time, and I wish I would have known about Store to Door because they could have really used this service.
Yeah, it's such an important one. I have a parent who is living in she's basically homebound, and I've mentioned the program, so I'm excited because I'm going to learn more so I can maybe persuade her to start using the service. So the idea, so did you have a passion? You say it came from your family experience in part, but tell us about the founding of the organization. What was it who brought it to life and how did it happen?
Actually, a man named Dr. David Berger in 1984 worked for the Wilder Foundation, and he was doing research that proved that if people were provided food in their homes, elderly people were able to have food in their homes, they could stay in their homes a lot longer, which made them much happier, often provided better nourishment because they could choose what they wanted to eat, and actually was much less expensive. So Dr. Berger in 1984 got a station wagon and a few volunteers and started delivering groceries. And the first grocer partner was Cub Foods. A few years later, they went to Rainbow, and then the organization was with Rainbow until about 10 years ago, and now we buy all of our clients' groceries at 6 different Cub food stores located throughout the entire metro area, and from a single station wagon with groceries going to a handful of elderly people. In last year, we made 22,000 deliveries to over 1,700 elderly adults, and the majority of our clients are much older than the minimum age, which is 60. A typical client is an 82-year-old woman. She's living alone. She's often outlived her social contacts, which happens. Her kids are away or they've passed away. She's very determined to stay home, and she can actually know what she wants to order for food every 2 weeks. She knows what's in her cupboard. She knows what she likes. And she's able to respond to a phone call from an order taker, and Jan actually is a volunteer order taker.
Oh, is that what you, okay.
And she actually does 2 roles.
Okay.
But she's able to respond to a phone call and place her order, and Jan can tell you about that process.
Yeah.
And that happens every other week like clockwork. Our clients really like orderliness and reliability, and often they like early morning phone calls so they can get on with their day.
That's great. So Jan, how did you find out about Store to Door? Was it you decided you wanted to do something in volunteering? What pulled you in that direction?
Right. Well, 3 years ago, I retired from full-time work, and shortly thereafter, I wanted to find volunteer opportunities that I could do close to home. I didn't want to have to drive too far. So I live in Bloomington and started out at Creekside Community Center, which is basically senior center in Bloomington. And from Creekside's website, they have a link to other services for older adults. And that's where I found the link to the Store to Door website. And I had heard about it, but didn't know much about it. So I contacted Store to Door and then became a volunteer for both Creekside and Store to Door.
And so I'm curious too, you said it's not just about the food, there's some other element that you're talking about. What does that look like? You're doing order taking, so you're on the phone with an individual. Do you have a regular set of people that you call?
Right, I do. When I signed up to be a volunteer order taker, I was asked by the staff what time frame I wanted to do my ordering, and I wanted to have a window of time every week that I was dedicated to that. And I chose Wednesday mornings from 8 to 10, so the store-to-door staff matched me up with clients who were willing to do their order during that time. So I have a list of clients. I call 5 clients every other week, so I talk to a total of 10 people. And I call them up in a certain order because I kind of know who's up early and who's not. And I log onto a computer database, which is basically an online ordering system. And the person is ready to accept my call, and they read me their list, grocery list, item by item. And we go through it, and I enter it into the system. And ultimately, 2 days later, after the order is taken, that's when the order is shopped and delivered.
Fantastic. So the individual doesn't necessarily need to be computer literate. That's all done by you, essentially.
Right.
So they need to know, I'm kind of curious about the brands and the so forth. So do you get as specific as it's got to be a 2-ounce container of, this brand of whatever? How does that work?
It really varies. A lot of the clients, I would say 3/4 of my clients know exactly what they want by brand, by size. And a lot of time they're shopping the ad and the coupon book.
Okay.
So they also want to make sure that I pick the item that they're getting the best value on, which I'm prepared to do that by having the coupon book and the ad on my desk. And then I can refer to those to make sure that we're getting the right thing. But the online ordering system is just like any other online system where it's specific. I see that I can get Kellogg's Corn Flakes in 3 different sizes, and I can offer those 3
So you can
sizes,
tell
and I
them
can
what
even tell them
help them
maybe
think about
which
it.
one is the better value that week. A few of my clients, not many, just want kind of whatever. They're not real picky about what brand. They just know that they want, some chocolate cookies. So they say, well, pick any kind, so sometimes you're involved with kind of making a decision.
So it is a little bit more relational then. There's a little bit of a,
right.
And you say your clients know you.
Yep.
And I'm just this is the other part I'm just always curious about. I realize people recognize that they're homebound, but how do they respond to, I'm thinking of produce and things. How do you handle that where it's an amount, or it's a variety, or it's seasonal? How does that work for
It's
you?
interesting you say that. There are a couple of customer service staff in our office. We have a very small staff. We have an office in Roseville, and these 2 people are kind of the backup for volunteer order takers, or if our clients are very difficult to understand. And I heard one of our customer service people explaining today that we don't just order a bunch of bananas. We order by the number, and we also order bananas by whether they're green, slightly green, or yellow.
Great.
We actually have to be very specific.
I would think
because
so.
the difference about store-to-door, which is kind of hard for people initially to understand, it's not a supplemental program, and the people who use it use their own money. They're paying for the groceries. So our challenge is to be sure that we're getting them exactly what they want, because you don't want to be saying to somebody, well, this is kind of close, please take it, because it doesn't really meet their needs. And we are the only source of groceries for the majority of our clients. And the other thing that's important, our clients are very old, they skew very high in years, and they also tend to be relatively low income. Actually, about 40% of them have income that's below the federal poverty level. So they're really trying to stretch their dollars. We actually accept SNAP, the food stamp program. We are the only grocery shopping and delivery service that does that in the home, and it makes a huge difference for stretching money that's kind of tight.
Yeah.
And what Jan was saying is shopping the ads. The being able to use the Cub coupons and the Cub ads to again stretch your dollars is a very, very big deal to our clients. So to answer your first question, they have to be very specific. We can't just say, well, give me a few things, because if we bring them the wrong few things, their needs aren't being met.
Right.
And if it's perishable and they want to return it, we really can't
Yeah,
return
it's not
perishable
gonna,
items.
that's not an easy thing to do. And I'm curious then, how are you, do they set out and tell you kind of what their budget is that they're, in other words, I don't want to spend more than $75 on this. I'm just making that
With
up.
some clients, actually, they do say that, and we do have a running tally in the system.
So you can be telling them how much so far
Yes.
that it's costing them.
Yes.
So that's very real time. So that's even better than real grocery shopping. For a lot of people, they don't know how much they've got.
Well, and it's a big deal.
yeah.
And we actually know the typical order every other week is $80. And again, we're every other week. We're very rigid or reliable, depending on how you want to look at that. And that $80 actually at Cub can provide a full range of groceries for somebody who's 82 years old. And the majority of our clients are living on
I was
their own.
wondering, are they mostly alone?
They're mostly alone.
And they are able to do their own cooking.
Oh, yes.
These are people who are cooking
Or
for themselves.
microwave or cook a frozen dinner. We sell a lot of frozen dinners, a lot of ready to eat. They can pour cereal, they can make sandwiches. And then a number of them, I met a woman when I was new at Store to Door, and I've only been there for 7 years, who was making, she had all this tomato product, and I was actually going with delivery staff. And that's important for you to, us to talk about.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that in a minute.
She was, I was with the delivery person learning about our clients when I was new, and this woman who was very, very small and quite bent over was making homemade tomato sauce because she really enjoyed making her homemade tomato sauce. So we run the gamut of, we have male clients who will order 14 Hungry Man frozen dinners and milk and things around that, and toilet paper and Kleenex, all the things a person needs to stay home. And then you got people ordering a full complement of fruit and vegetables. I'm sure some of your clients do.
Right. In fact, I have a woman who is in her 90s, and she's cooking from scratch. I mean, she's ordering pot roasts and raw chicken and potatoes, which she's going to peel.
Good for her.
Yep, the base ingredients. That's not the majority, but there are a few, and they always seem to be that the 90-year-olds still like to do their own cooking.
Well, and she's fortunate because she can see. One of the biggest challenges for our clients is macular degeneration or blindness or arthritis, so you couldn't peel the potatoes, osteoporosis, so you couldn't stand up and do things. So what's really wonderful about the people that Store to Door serves is they are darned independent and communicative and mostly cheerful and really feel like, well, I'm just living my life, and isn't it great that I'm one of your 10 clients?
Yeah.
They all think that we have 10 clients.
Right, I'm sure. Hold on. If you're just joining us, I'm talking with two members of the team for Store to Door that brings fresh groceries to people who are homebound in the Twin Cities. So I didn't ask your service area. Is it broadly Twin Cities, or is it more focused in the St. Paul area?
It's the entire 7-county area.
It is 7-county.
Northwest Anoka, out to the far end of Carver County. I say this because it's a graphic. To the eastern edge of Washington County, and then down into Scott County. So we actually work in 7 Cub food stores, and so they're geographically located to minimize the amount of driving time.
And then there are no income requirements. It's anyone who feels they need the service is eligible, and you will accept, is there a point at which you can't accept more people?
We almost hit it this winter. We've been very, very, very busy with the bad winter, the bad weather this winter. But at this point, we are serving everybody who asks, and I just want to make something clear about income. There is no income requirement. The real requirement for using our service is the willingness to have somebody else shop for you. That the client makes a decision to let somebody else come in their house, which is a big deal for our clients, and take their money and give them food. And those are a couple of important points of vulnerability for who we serve. So we had talked a little bit about the order takers are volunteers. Our shoppers are volunteers, and Jan's that, and she can talk to you about that.
Okay, to do the shopping too.
She's unusual in that. Most of our volunteers don't do both roles. And then our delivery staff is all paid. And that's because they're insured and they're trained with working with vulnerable adults. We are all state mandated reporters. So if we come into a home and you're our client and you're on a chair and you're saying, I've been really dizzy all day long, but I'm just going to sit here while you're here, our driver can't just leave the groceries, take your money, take your coupons, figure out the bill, and then just leave. He needs to sort of ask some questions, like when was the last time you stood up? And really to sort of gauge whether or not you're in a situation where if you next stand up, you'll fall down, and somebody might not come see you for a couple days.
Yeah.
Our clients are very, very, very vulnerable to sudden things, more than you and I are right now.
Absolutely.
So our staff, it's all paid staff that go into our clients' homes. And the other thing is we know who they are, we know where they live, and we really trust them to not take things, to not put our clients in any sort of a dangerous situation. It's a really big deal. And our clients love our delivery staff. The typical age of one of our delivery people is the early 60s, and our clients refer to them all as nice young men. It's really pretty funny. It's lovely.
Cute. So, and are they exclusively men doing the
Today
delivery?
they are, not always, but
Not
in
always.
the past we've had women, but right now they are all men.
And so they bring the groceries in. So why don't you talk a little bit about the shopping role?
I shop at the Cub on 84th and Lyndale in Bloomington, and that is every Friday morning at 6 a.m., which is really early, especially when it's minus 20.
Yeah.
That's
But
amazing.
once I get into the store and I start shopping, I forget about the fact that it's 6 a.m.
And so are you shopping for multiple people
Yep.
at multiple times so that, you're not able to do it sequentially. You have to do a couple of carts at once?
Right.
Or?
Well, there's a group of volunteers. There's usually 10 to 12 volunteers that arrive around 6 a.m. on Friday, but actually in the Bloomington store, that's shopped 3 days a week because there's that many clients who are serviced out of that particular geography. I happen to shop on Fridays. So we get to the store and there's a stack of orders, paper orders, and you just take the one on the top and get a cart or grab a cart and some of the insulated bags, and you shop it just as you would your own grocery list. The order prints out in the sequence of the store, which is nice because it makes it a little quicker. And you finish, you take the cold bags, put the frozen bag into the ice machine up front, so everything stays frozen while the rest of the orders are being shopped, and you just continue that process till they're all gone. And then every order is double checked by someone other than yourself if you shopped it, just to make sure that everything was shopped correctly. And then ultimately it goes through the checkout and gets put into the Cub tote boxes, and the delivery people are there. So the delivery drivers are there, and they take the boxes out to the truck in the sequence that their route is planned, and then they go out about their deliveries. One of the nicest things about doing that at 6 a.m. is there's nobody else in the store, and it makes it much easier, because shopping for somebody else is a little challenging in that you're looking for things that you've never shopped for before yourself.
It's new.
So it's really nice to do that kind of in peace and quiet.
It's considered a scavenger hunt.
Yes, it can be.
I'm curious, now you have clients, you've established a relationship. If someone decides they only want to do it once a month, or they want to try it out before they commit, do they have to commit to the every other week, or how does that work?
We ask them to commit to every other week initially, but many people use it seasonally. Like through the bad winter, we'll have clients for 5 or 6 months. If a person tries it and doesn't like it after a couple times, they can just say that, and then we're done. The reason we ask for the commitment is when we sign a client up, and it's a very simple registration process. There's no papers that we send you. Actually, Bonnie in our office asks questions and registers the person. And the main questions are: the person is over 60. We need to know their income, because that allows us to determine what level of delivery fee we must charge them.
Oh, okay.
Because we get a little money from the state of Minnesota, so we have a sliding fee scale for delivery.
And what does that range?
I'm glad you're asking. $5, $12, and $15 per order. About 40% of our clients pay the $5, so we skew low.
Yeah.
I just forgot the other things I was going to say. So
well, we'll come back.
Talk about something
But you're
else.
talking about the commitment on the delivery, and I was asking, I was asking about the fee. You said how you qualify them for the fees.
Oh, yes.
And then
we have to have their income, and then we learn where they live, and then they get assigned to the store closest to their house for the days that we're at that store. And the reason that we want a commitment is when we do the first 2 orders in the office, and that's kind of to get people used to our method, which is to be very specific about each item, because it makes it easier for the volunteer order takers. But then we put a little time into Jan's schedule for this person. And if they choose not to use the service for a couple of months, she's kind of not being fully utilized. She's willing to take 5 people, she's got 3, and we we have over 200 volunteer order takers.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you kind of what the demand is, and then what you're looking for to keep this going. You obviously need volunteers
Yes.
to do this. And so you have, how many did you say?
Well,
200?
we have over 200 order takers and about 250 shoppers. And we always need volunteer order takers because it's a responsibility that just never seems to be filled up. Well, actually, we've had an enormous number of new clients. We had a goal of, I think we thought we would add 500 new people in the year, and we're at about 400 at the end of March. So it's been a very, very, very busy year. So every time we get a new client, we need to be able to have a volunteer order taker to turn that client over to after their first month of service through the office. So,
and we know that we are an aging state. That's one of the things that everyone's talking about is we are aging rapidly in Minnesota. I'm assuming that the metro I think the outstate is growing at a more rapid pace of aging, but it's certainly growing
it's a
here.
smaller population.
Yeah, so what are the projections, and what do you think? Is this an organization that's going to need to increase its scale because of our population shift? And
we are planning that right now. We hope to serve twice as many people. This year, we're just looking at our next year's planning, and we hope to serve around 1,800 clients next year. But we see that doubling in the next 3 to 4 years. We had access to a study done by the Minnesota Board on Aging in 2005 that showed that there were about 7,500 adults over the age of 65 that needed help with grocery shopping and had nobody to help them. Well, that's a younger group. That's not necessarily our group, but it's quite a few more people than we're currently serving. So we know there's a gap between the number of people that we're currently serving and that will need this, that do need this service, and will need it moving forward.
Yeah, it's really important. And what do you think the chief barrier is? Now, I will confess, I have talked to my mother about this service at least 2 or 3 times. If she ends up watching this interview, I'm busted. But, what do you think it takes to get people over? I would prefer to do other things with her and have, and if we can use it, and having the ability, plus can I be counted on to always, can I do it? Can I always do it?
That's the barrier.
But, yeah.
She's got you.
Yeah, the barrier is
her perspective is that she knows you, she trusts you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know each other, and if you get something wrong, she can scold you. And really to trust somebody else to get you what you wanted. And actually, the bigger issue is in our culture, there are definitely people who prey on elderly adults.
Right.
So we have to overcome that.
And that's a big piece you have to do, which
for
is
starters.
How has that worked? I mean, you did speak to it. You talked about the fact that the delivery is exclusively trained, but how have you dealt with that barrier?
Well, we work with our volunteer order takers. We really try to create an atmosphere of cooperation and friendliness, really from top to bottom. We are here to help people. And then the other piece is that we are trying to be very reliable, very honest, very transparent in our dealings. We do allow returns. We do allow people to question us about things that they might not otherwise. And we just try to be as consistent as possible. I think the consistency, we have the same person going into people's homes.
Yeah, that's
we have the
nice.
Same person calling them every 2 weeks.
So that's a relationship that's being built.
Right.
It's really, we're trying hard to provide a level of social interaction. A lot of our clients don't really talk to anybody in those 2 weeks. So we definitely have volunteers who want to send Christmas and birthday cards to clients, and clients who call us and say, can I have the phone number? And we actually have quite a few barriers.
Yeah, you have to keep that.
But everybody goes through background checks. We do all the basics. But then the next step is to just have this attitude of friendliness.
The other thing that we're able to do at the store, when we're shopping is if we go through the order and we find an item that we're just not sure about what they're asking for, or if they're asking for something that's out of stock and we're wanting to substitute, we are able to call the clients from the store.
Oh, that's great.
And that also provides another level of, you know,
That's
we're
kinda
really
fun.
trying to get this right. You know, we're not going to send something to you that we're not pretty sure is what you really wanted, especially we were saying about the perishables.
Yes.
They're not returnable. You know, you
Yeah.
don't want to send something that's not returnable and have the
Exactly.
person pay for it, and it's not what they wanted. But on that regard also, kind of the personal aspect of it, clients can order anything that they can get in a Cub food store, including greeting cards, postage stamps, anything that comes from
Flowers.
the store,
Yes.
flowers. So
Deli
a lot
chickens.
of times you are asked to pick out a birthday
Something
card
really
for a
personal.
granddaughter.
Sweet.
So you can call them and you maybe offer them a couple choices, or like with flowers, you know, they might have red tulips and yellow tulips and they didn't specify. You can call and say, hey,
Nice.
which these look better. You know, you can kind of get into that personal
fun.
aspect without having the, they're not feeling vulnerable because, you know, it's just a phone call. You know, we're not
What I want to do
scary.
is just make sure that we encourage people to sign up. So Jan, I want to say, what would you say to someone who's on the fence about volunteering? How would you encourage them to get on board and help?
With volunteering, I would say for me, the one thing that impressed me with Store to Door and has allowed me to continue with Store to Door is it's a very well-run organization. It's my time is used efficiently, and if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity to, you know, talk to people, if you want to do shopping, get out and, you know, interact with people, you know, your buddy, your fellow shoppers become your buddies. I mean, it's kind of a fun social event.
Nice.
But what you're doing is also so important.
Yeah.
And like I said, every single minute is important. And it comes back, like, I don't feel like after I've done any store-to-door work that any of my time was not well spent.
No, that's great.
So, and sorry, one more thing about the order taking aspect. I'm up north quite a bit in the summer, so that doesn't prevent me from doing the order taking.
keep doing
because
that.
as long as you have a phone and a computer, you can literally do it from anywhere. So for people that are kind of mobile and transient, if you have that window of time, you can really do the order taking from anywhere.
That's fantastic. So we want to be sure, how do they learn about Store to Door? They go to the website?
They can go to www.storetodoor.org. It's all spelled out. They can call our main office number, 651-642-1892. And I would love to hear from people as a result of this conversation that they're interested in volunteering. We were talking a little earlier, I know that our clients watch this channel. We serve a lot of elderly, homebound adults who live in St. Paul.
So bring it on, more and
Yes.
more. So let's
Yes.
convince them to sign up, and maybe in another 2 months, I'll have my mom.
You might want to get through the summer first.
We'll see. That's all we have time for. Come see us again next week on the St. Paul Forum.